Welcome to the Pixl Marketing Show, the podcast for real estate media pros who want to go from random acts of marketing to remarkable results. I'm your host, Pete Stagl, founder of Pixl CRM and creator of the Pixl Marketing Method. And every week, we're diving into the systems, strategies, and real stories that help you attract better clients, retain them longer, and grow a real business. Let's get into it. Welcome back, guys. Today we've got an interesting discussion about numbers. As being in business for a long time, one of the big things that all business comes down to is knowing your numbers and knowing how to make the right decisions based on those numbers. And so today I decided to bring in my wife and her business partner who own Servant HR and Accounting. They do a lot of bookkeeping, accounting stuff for other real estate media companies. My wife obviously did mine when in my business. And so she understands the whole real estate media world. And so we wanted to have a discussion about bookkeeping, accounting, and taxes and stuff like that too. So my wife is Deaubry Stagl and her business partner, Robin Harris. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yep. Thank you.
Awesome. So we were at PMRE. And obviously my wife came with me. And so she was there talking to a lot of you guys at our signing event. And one of the questions that came up around that is, what is the difference between a bookkeeper, an accounting, and a CPA? And why should you have one other or any of those? And you had a really lengthy conversation with a couple people about that. Why don't we dive into what is the difference?
Yeah, absolutely. So your bookkeeper is going to be your day-to-day data entry type person. They're going to make sure that all of your transactions are posted correctly in your bank account, that you're tracking your expenses correctly, that your accounts are being reconciled so that the numbers that you're looking at in your accounting software, whether it be QuickBooks or Xero or Quicken or whatever it is, even just an Excel spreadsheet, whatever it is that you're using actually matches what's in your bank account and all that's active. Your accountant is going to be the one to help you understand those numbers. They're going to tell you, does this make sense? Are you spending wisely? Are you maximizing your benefits as far as your revenues versus your profits? Are you on track to meet the goals that you had maybe financially for the year? And then your CPA is going to put that information into your tax strategy or your tax return and tell you at the end of the year, what is it going to look like when it comes to the IRS and your taxes. They're going to be able to look at your total financial picture, not just your business, but anything that you have on the personal side as well. Maybe you have other investments. Maybe you have another side hustle job. Maybe you have a spouse who also has a job or their own business or what have you. Your CPA is going to put all of that together for you to help you understand the tax ramifications for that. The reason
everybody needs a CPA then, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Well, you not necessarily. Yes and no. You need someone who's going to be able to understand the tax side of things and file your taxes for you. Generally, that's a CPA. Not all tax companies are CPAs, though. So there's a little bit of a difference.
So would CPA also be doing the bookkeeping and the accounting stuff, or would I need different people to do the different pieces?
So generally, your CPA is not going to do your bookkeeping or accounting pieces. They're not bookkeepers. They will take the numbers that you give them from your bookkeeper or accountant and look at that from the eyes and the lens of that tax strategy. But most of the time, they don't do bookkeeping. They don't want to do the bookkeeping. It's two totally different worlds, different thought processes. And so they'll rely on those who understand the finance side, because that's really what your bookkeeper and accounting are, your finance side. And then your CPA is your tax side. Now, they should always communicate and work together to make sure that everyone's on the same page. However, your CPA or your tax person is not normally going to be the one to do your bookkeeping, your financials, the finance side of things.
Okay. So a lot of our listeners and a lot of our clients with Pixl CRM are smaller companies. They may be growing from the single photographer into a small team, maybe some outsourced VAs and stuff. Do they need a bookkeeper and an accountant then?
So a lot of times your bookkeeper and your accountant can be the same. So that's what we do at Serve in HR and Accounting. We can serve as both the bookkeeper and the accountant because, especially in small businesses like you find in the real estate media, you need someone who can do that data entry, make sure everything is reconciled and looks and is being processed correctly. But you also need someone that you can talk to that understands what your financial picture is as a business. Not just, yes, the bank account matches what we have in the spreadsheet, but here's how you use those numbers to grow your business.
Okay. Um, we talked to a couple of people that at PMR and whatnot, and they said that they had a bookkeeping firm, but when you actually started talking to them, it seemed like they had somebody that was maybe reconciling something to something somewhere, but they had no idea what they were doing. They had no idea what the numbers said. They just kind of handed off to this bookkeeping firm or whatever and hope that the numbers were right. I think a lot of our listeners tend to do that too because they don't quite understand the numbers. They don't understand finance and bookkeeping and all of this stuff, and so they just kind of hand it off to somebody. Maybe it's even family friend. And what's the downside to that? Because I know that some of our conversations that we had with people is like, really, you're doing what? Really?
So there's ups and downs to some of that user-friendly accounting software that's out there, including QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks is one of the most common accounting softwares out there. Anyone and everyone can either use QuickBooks or learn how to use it quickly. But it doesn't always mean it's being done correctly. And so the bookkeeper who, like I said, does that data entry stuff, maybe reconciles the reports, everything says that it matches. If you don't understand those numbers, then you're not going to know if they're correct. Just because the system gives you that check mark, green button, yes, you're reconciled. If there's still stuff sitting there that people don't know how or what to look at, then that doesn't mean that it's right, and that then you won't be operating on accurate numbers. You won't be making decisions based on correct information. And then that's just completely detrimental to your business or to your goals. Or when you get the books to your CPA, who can do some basic identification when looking at your P&L, saying, are you sure? They
So that's
can
actually
catch some of that, but not all of it.
yeah. So that's actually a good point. You just said P&L. What are some of the reports and the numbers you should be looking at on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, and even yearly basis from a bookkeeping, from your QuickBooks or your Xero or what have you? Because a lot of people, they just like hand it to their people and say, "You guys deal with that," and they never look at anything. And there's a lot more value there. I mean, like you and I know that because we've been running businesses for a while, and we are constantly looking at the reports. But some people just they don't even know what reports they're supposed to be looking at.
Yeah, that's very, very true. So bare minimum, you should be looking at your profit and loss, P&L. That's going to tell you what the revenues are that you've generated in your business, what your expenses have been, and then what your profit is at the end of the year, what you're looking at as far as how well is your business doing? Are you making money? Because we're all in business to make money, right?
Yeah.
And so that's your P&L is going to show you. But you should also be looking at your balance sheet. Your balance sheet is what actually tells you the valuation of your company. Are you operating in a manner that's sustainable? Do you have the adequate assets against your liabilities? So your assets are going to be the money you have in the bank account, but also any of the equipment you may own, any of your camera equipment, anything like that. And then liabilities is obviously money that you owe other people. So have you taken any loans out for your company? Do you have
Credit cards or anything like that that you
exactly
use
your credit card stuff
for
like that?
fuel or
And then whatever's left over is going to be your equity. That's what completes that balance sheet portion, is what is left in the business to value the business for you to use as a tax basis when you're figuring out, and your CPA will use that to help you figure out your total financial picture. as well. Other reports that you should be looking at is if you have employees, you should be looking at your payroll. And I'll let Robin actually take the lead on that one because she is our payroll expert. She handles, I mean, I can and I do, and I love payroll, but she's been in payroll for so much longer with so many other states. I'll let her talk about what you should be looking for on the payroll side.
So thank you, Deaubry. So it's really important to look at especially your liabilities. So your payroll reports are going to show you a couple of things. Number one, it's going to show you what are you paying your employees? What are you paying your people? You want to make sure that it makes sense to what you agreed, depending on who's doing your payroll. But the other piece that it's really important to look at is your liability section, because you want to make sure that your payroll liabilities are being paid.
And that's the taxes, right?
That is your taxes. That is your payroll taxes. Payroll taxes are really important. If for some reason your payroll taxes are not being paid to the IRS, I mean, those don't go away. It's like stealing out of your employees' pockets, honestly, because it's money that's taken out of their checks. So it's very important, and the IRS really will come down on with penalties if you're not paying those on time. And then you also want to take a look at your state liabilities as well. But also if you have anything like 401k or medical insurance or anything, that you just want to make sure that everything's being paid the way that you're expecting it to be.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of our media companies are small, and they haven't started looking at the 401ks and the health insurance. Maybe they do for themselves, but how is that something that you guys can help at least guide them in the right direction for?
Yeah, absolutely. We do provide HR services as well, and that's help anywhere from making sure that your employees are set up correctly. Do they qualify as employees? Should they be 1099 contractors? What are the ramifications if you misclassify your employees? If you're paying them as contractors and they should be employees, what could you be on the hook for? Hint, hint, a lot of penalties. Just saying. And the IRS and the states are really cracking down on stuff like that. But we can also help you look at things like maybe you do want to do a little bit more for your employees. Maybe you do want to offer even just very basic benefits. We have resources that can help you look at how is that going to benefit you and your business as well. Offering benefits to your employees is not just about your employee, and it doesn't just benefit your employee. It benefits you as a company when it comes to additional expenses or tax deductions, basically, is what it comes down to, reduce your tax liability. But also it can help build that retention and longevity and security and loyalty from your photographers, from your employees. And so we can help
absolutely keep them from wanting to go off and start their own company.
Exactly. Exactly. And even you have even just one employee, you need to have basic policies in place because everyone needs to know what's expected. And so we can even help with job descriptions, basic policy manuals, or basic policies in general, or even just help answer questions and guide, how do I handle this situation with this employee? There are so many acronym agencies out there. I like to call them all the 3-letter agencies, but they're not all just 3 letters. But there's so many guidelines that every employer has to follow when it comes to how to handle different situations, how to treat employees, what accommodations you do or don't have to make, what you do or don't have to provide to your employees. Every state has its own specific leave laws anymore. Some states require that you pay for sick leave, even if you only have one employee. And so it's stuff like that we can help guide through on the HR side when you do have employees, even if it is just one.
Yeah. So one of the guys we were talking to, I think their family member does the books or whatever, and just like you were saying, most anybody can log into a QuickBooks and click around a little bit and kind of generate some reports and whatnot. But understanding it is an entirely different thing. And I know that you guys do calls all the time with your clients to help them understand, what's going on in their business and whatnot. And, some of those people that we were talking to, they like, really? You do that? And that was a foreign thing to them because, like I said, they just hand their books over to a bookkeeper and say, here you go. And then, they take whatever, they give it back to them and hand it to a CPA or a tax guy and say, here, this is what we got going on. What makes that conversation, really, really valuable, and reviewing the numbers and stuff there?
Yeah, so I mean, Robin and I, when we formed Driven HR and accounting, Robin has a history in owning her own business as well. And so we both understand the importance of knowing and understanding the numbers behind your business. And we believe that every business owner should know and understand their numbers. So we do absolutely every single month. We will meet with all our clients to review their financials. Some clients we'll go line by line on every single line to make sure that they understand everything that's going in there. Other clients have been in business longer. They understand maybe we've had a whole lot more conversations and they don't have as many questions anymore. But we take the time to make sure that the business owner not only sees their financial statements, but understands them. And, we answer all of the questions. And if for whatever reason there's a question we can't answer, maybe it's a tax question. We do, like I said, the bookkeeping and the accounting. We can do all the finance side of things and implications on there. When it comes to total tax picture, tax strategy, because we don't know our client's full financial picture, meaning both personal and any and all other businesses, we can't guide on tax anything, but we can help point in the right direction, or even just give the questions or the pointers to ask your CPA as far as, the ramifications of X, Y, or Z decision.
Awesome. Yeah, I know that there's a couple other bookkeeping companies out there that try to streamline everything, and it's effectively just like QuickBooks Online, and they kind of do it for you. And it's like, and especially even the overseas guys, more and more VAs will do bookkeeping, and but they don't quite understand what really is going on. We're gonna have to cut that whole little chunk out.
Mhm.
Is there anything else that you would want to tell a real estate media company about you guys, or about what they should be doing? Especially, we're coming into the end of the year. It's December. Is there anything that they need to do to get ready for next year? Should they review stuff, or maybe get a new company in place so that they know what they're doing?
Reviews should always be happening, for sure. That's something that you should be doing. You should be reviewing your numbers on we like to say a monthly basis, because we always produce monthly financial statements. But even for the smallest businesses, no less than quarterly. You should understand where you are financially on a quarterly basis.
Okay.
I wanted to go back to, I know you mentioned about a lot of people sending their bookkeeping overseas.
Mhm.
And I would caution on that. Overseas, they don't have the same accounting principles. They don't have to follow the GAAP accounting like we do in the US. So it's very important we would caution against sending your reporting overseas like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you want consistency in your reporting too, and if they do something different, then everything
Mhm.
could be completely off.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they can add things onto your balance sheet that may not be GAAP compliant, or just in order to stay compliant with what you need to here in the US.
Exactly. And just for everyone who doesn't understand accounting terminology, GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. That's what the IRS requires that all businesses follow to file their taxes at the end of the year. And so, yes, at minimum, you should be reviewing your financials on a quarterly basis. Like I said, we recommend monthly. We meet with our clients monthly, but everyone wants to do that. Some people don't care about their numbers. I don't understand that concept, but some people only want to look at it, when they have to. And so bare minimum, I would recommend quarterly, but you have to at least look at it annually when you're sitting down with your accountant or your CPA or whoever doing your taxes. But as far as
Absolutely.
things is to make sure that you are having accurate numbers prior to filing your taxes, you want to make sure that all of your bank accounts have been reconciled. All of your loan accounts have been reconciled. Any sort of loans or credit cards that you have, you want to make sure that you have that interest expense, that you're getting that deduction and the advantage for that. You also want to make sure that, especially in the real estate photography world, that you've got all of your mileage has been tracked. The IRS requires that it's a written log of some sort. They don't give any specific, it has to be written this way or that way, but it does have to be a written log or a verifiable tracking, something that if they ever ask, you can produce, this is, the mileage deduction that we took. Because we know that you're out driving to shoot, so your photographer want to make sure that you're capitalizing on all of those deductions that you can get.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the best way to get a hold of you guys if they are ready to, stop burying their head in the sand about numbers and actually, figuring out what their business is at? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Visit us at our website, myhraccounting.com. Schedule a free consultation. We are always happy to answer any and all questions, see what your business actually needs. Maybe you do or don't need financials. Maybe you do have someone that you trust is doing your bookkeeping. Maybe you're doing it yourself and you just want us to kind of double check and look it over quarterly, semi-annually, annually before it goes to tax time. We're happy to have those conversations in any way we can help and support. But visit our website, myhraccounting.com, or you can always send us an email at hello@myhraccounting.com.
Yeah, and we do other services too. We also do training for business owners or their teams. So if they want to keep their accounting in-house, that we can help guide them on how to do that. So we do that, and we do recommend that, as a business owner, that you do know how to use your accounting software. So if for some reason, you have a bookkeeper that leaves, and you have QuickBooks Online or Xero or what have you, and you have no idea what you're looking or what to do with it. So it's always good for them to know how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure that, they keep it all straight so that you don't have personal stuff all in there and weird
Mm-hmm.
transactions from 6 months ago that haven't been reconciled and all that type of stuff. So
Exactly. And we can teach you, if you understand how to use just the basics of your accounting software, you can also know how to kind of double check that your bookkeepers are doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's a big one, especially if you're using, a family member or a random bookkeeper that just happens to be in your town and whatnot. And I guess that's the other thing too. You guys are nationwide. You'll help anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are very familiar with all the different laws and regulations for each state where it comes to sales tax filing, employees. Like I said before, what benefits do you or don't you have to offer, whether it be mandatory paid sick leave or mandatory paid family leave, some states have anymore. Even just helping with basic minimum wage laws per state. We are absolutely nationwide, US only.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for jumping on and telling us about knowing our numbers and how to do that. And we'll encourage everybody to jump onto My HR Accounting and book a consult if they're unsure of their numbers or they want to know some more.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for listening to the Pixl Marketing Show. If you're ready to go from random acts of marketing to remarkable results, grab your free copy of the Pixl Marketing Method at pixlmarketingmethodbook.com. If this episode helped you, share it with another real estate media business owner. Make sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Until next time.